This is going to be another installment in my Introduction to Philosophy intensive course here on my channel, and I'm going to be, after this, I'm going to probably skip a lot of years and probably just go to Descartes. I'm skipping people like Anselm, Augustine, the Epicureans, the Stoics, the Skeptics, Anselm Aquinas, and a lot of other people in between, just because I'm trying to get down some more basic things. In my first intro to philosophy class, I was taught about Aquinas and Anselm, and that was it between Aristotle and Descartes. But I'm going to take those out all together, specifically also because in my philosophy of religion course, which is not really off the ground yet, but will be, I will be discussing Anselm, Aquinas, and Saint Augustine. All of them together in their philosophies. So in this, I want to discuss Aristotelian ethics, and I want to discuss how virtue ethics came from Aristotle. Certain concepts of virtue came before him in Plato and some other thinkers, but he has a systematic virtue ethics. He wouldn't call it that, entirely, but these days we have a more of a figured out systematic way of looking at virtue and the ethical system behind the whole act of being virtuous. So Aristotelian ethics has to do with a few certain concepts. It has to do with arte. It has to do with phronesis, and it has to do with eudaimonia, and that's in his book Nicomachean Ethics. I do plan at some point to going part by part on this channel of that book, but I'm currently doing his metaphysics, so that will be a little bit of a while. But the idea of virtue has to do with the idea of arte, and arte translates to basically to excellence, to being excellent in a certain way. It makes me think of the Bill and Ted's Bill and Ted's movie where they always say be excellent to each other, because that's basically what the whole thing is about. You're supposed to be excellent to each other. You're supposed to be a good, virtuous person. They said it for more of a, Bill and Ted kind of said it for more of a humorous reasons, but that's a lot of what a virtue ethics of Aristotle is saying. That you have to have some excellence to each other. To be virtuous is to be excellent. You have to be excellent in order to do anything that is virtuous or be virtuous. And excellence or arte is something that means that when you are acting in this way, you are acting among all the different virtues. Now there have been many philosophers, including Aristotle, who try to delineate what the virtues are. However, I'm not entirely sure that one can be right about that, because the word virtue, courage, benevolence, kindness you can sort of kind of mush those words together into the idea of virtue itself. So, people like Aristotle will try to name all the different virtues, and I do think I could name all the different virtues, but in a way, it's not very useful to even try to do this. But I suppose it is useful in trying to say what it means to be archaic or to be virtuous, but being excellent does mean being a virtuous person. Means being benevolent. Means being kind and compassionate. It means being just. It means a lot of those good things about a person. And the other way of looking at ethics has to do with the idea of phronesis, and phronesis is basically practical wisdom. Practical wisdom is the whole idea is you looking at all the situations in your life, and sorry, I was feeding my fish. I saw him out and I wanted to get him while he was out. So pretty much, phronesis, like I said, is practical wisdom, using all your knowledge of how to deal with things and being wise in doing a certain thing when it comes to certain situations. You know, it's being wise and applying this virtuous wisdom in your life. And he does have other concepts about the virtuous and what it means to be virtuous, but those two are kind of the main ones, and those two kind of work together. Where virtue is basically about character. It's about who you are as a person. And there's this thing that in virtue ethics that comes from Aristotle, which is where phronesis is a habitual buildup. And it's not really habitual, it's not a habit, it's a skill basically that you have gained from acting in this idea of practical wisdom. And then there's this habitual buildup, because as you continually try to be excellent, if you try to be a very virtuous person, if you try to use your practical wisdom and doing virtuous things in given specific difficult situations, then you will have a habitual buildup. A certain character will build up in you, and that's when you move toward a more of a archaic state, a more state of virtuous excellence. And the final concept is called eudaimonia, and it's kind of sometimes looked at as like happiness, but it's not really that at all. It's not happiness. Happiness is not the way that eudaimonia should be looked at. It's more translated. It's like flourishing, and this is, in a way, it is happiness, but the happiness is the wrong word for it, if that makes sense. Eudaimonia is basically the whole idea that that in your archaic living, or in your living of excellence and being practically wise in everything that you do, and you try to be a good, excellent, virtuous, archaic person, and you have this habitual build-up with phronesis, and your character becomes to move towards the good, and you try to you get better. You have this eudaimonia, where, given how good your life is, how good of a person you are being, there is a payoff of eudaimonia, where given you're doing these things, there's going to be a state which follows of happiness and flourishing, because of your good deeds and because of your good character. But that is the basic structure of Aristotelian ethics, and again, like everything on this channel, I do plan on expanding. However, on this topic, I will not expand for a while. I want to try to get through Aristotle's metaphysics first. So let me know if you have any questions, and put them in the comments below. And following this, we'll do a video talking about modern philosophy in general, and then also I'll jump right into Descartes' meditations. And thank you.